In this video, we will delve into the implementation of the game for the Software Engineering Project 2023, completed by Group 3. This video should be watched in conjunction with the final project report and will show an implementation of the features within the game in order to satisfy the requirements. The features will be shown within the Eclipse IDE. Just before the instructional video begins, I wanted to show the repository in which the game will be kept, just in case you want to go and have a look at the source code or download the source code yourself. The URI will be in the video description. 90 Seconds to Midnight is the text-based Monopoly-style game centered around the theme of saving the planet. 2 to 4 players can act as countries trying to reduce their carbon footprint before the doomsday clock hits 0. It's a race to the bottom in which players must balance their cash resources with their carbon footprint to reach 0 before the others. Each country will start with 200 megatons of CO2 and a cash sum of $1,000 million to reduce and invest respectively. Investing in environmental schemes allows you to reduce your carbon footprint, as other players must absorb some of the carbon for use of the scheme when they land on one you have invested in. On top of this, there is development. If you have invested in all the schemes within a certain field, you're able to develop them. With each star of development, you get a reduction in carbon footprint depending on the carbon absorption rate of the scheme. If you've developed 3 stars of a property, you can create a major development for one big push towards 0. Development really helps to reduce your carbon footprint, so is heavily encouraged if you can afford it. Now let's get into the game. The start menu greets you with 4 options: start game, how to play about, and quit game. Let's go through them individually, starting with how to play. On screen pops up a set of instructions on how to play the game. About gives you some more information about the creators of the game. Quit game leaves the game. Whenever you actually hit start game, it becomes time to register the players. First, you have to enter how many players will be playing the game, so a number between 2 and 4. Numbers outside of this range or letters are considered invalid. For the sake of this demonstration, we will be using 2 players. Then you have to enter the name of the players, player 1 and player 2. In this case, we're using countries Australia and New Zealand. As you can see, when Australia is entered twice, a duplicate name is not allowed. The players are assigned a colour, and they are assigned an order. With a random order assigned, it's time for a player to take their turn. They can display player info, display own properties, or roll dice. When a player rolls the dice, they can move on one of 4 types of square: property, chance, quiz question, or safety. Every time a player passes go, they collect resources and the countdown timer decrements by 1 second. If they land on a property, the first thing they can opt to do is buy it if it's unowned. Here we can see the example where Australia has landed on technology carbon capture and they're offered to buy it or skip it. They've chosen to buy it, and you can see the new balance on screen. To skip buying a property, they can choose 2 on the menu, and when they do that, New Zealand now gets the option to buy the property instead. They choose to buy it in this case, and you can see the new balances on screen. Landing on someone else's property results in you having to absorb some of the player who owns its carbon. If you own every property within a particular field, you have a new option available on your turn menu to develop properties. Selecting this will allow you to see all the properties which you can develop further. You can then pick a property you would like to develop, or go back to the original menu. As you can see, when we display the player info, we have sufficient funds to be able to develop. So we're developing property 1 here, renewable energy wind. It now has 1 star. We can develop as many times as we want in a single go. Develop it again, now it has 2 stars. And each time we're reducing the carbon footprint of the country by an amount related to the carbon absorption rate of the property. When you have 3 stars of development amassed on a property, you have the option to create a major development. Major development costs a certain amount of money and it reduces the carbon footprint by a significant chunk. If you land on a chance card, you have the option whether you want to buy it or not. From this point, you can press Y to buy, or any key to exit. There are several chance cards available. Some advance you along the board, some give you resources, some take resources away, so you have to choose wisely on whether or not you want to invest. If you land on a quiz question, you have the option to answer a quiz question. If you get the question right, you get a resource. If you get it wrong, you get nothing. As you can see in this case, where I get the answer right, some cash is transferred into the account. And in this case, where I get it wrong, it tells you the correct answer, but you move on. The safety square is like your refuge shelter. Nothing happens when you land on this square. It's probably about time we talk about how to win. Throughout the game, a timer ticks down every time a person passes go. If that timer hits 0, or somebody reaches the carbon footprint of 0 or below, the game ends. On the video on screen, you're seeing a sped up version of the game in which I'm going through the various stages of development, as it's a great way to reduce your carbon footprint quickly. By the time we have fully developed a lot of these properties, our carbon footprint is in the negative and the game is over. As mentioned briefly before, the other way the game can end is via the timer. A timer ticks down every time somebody passes go, and whenever that timer reaches 0, the game ends. The person with the lowest carbon footprint is the winner.